NBC4 is working to get you answers after widespread power outages disrupted hundreds of thousands of lives in central Ohio. Right now, nearly 18,000 AEP customers throughout the state are still without electricity on this Friday night. Good evening to you, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Carrie Charles.
I'm Colleen Marshall. Tonight, NBC4 investigates. Jamie Ostroff tells us who made the call to cut the power and why.
AEP Ohio is the company that supplies power to much of central Ohio, but AEP is actually part of a network of utility companies that draws electricity from a grid that covers 65 million people across 13 different states and D.C. This grid is operated by what's called a regional transmission organization, and that's called PJM.
As Public Utilities Commission of Ohio's chair explained during this week's meeting, PJM told AEP to shut off power Tuesday to hundreds of thousands of customers.
This week, due to the storms leaving less transmission lines in service combined with the high temperatures, there was increased stress on the transmission lines that were still in service. Because of this, yesterday afternoon, PJM ordered AEP Ohio to decrease the electricity demand on some parts of the stress system in central Ohio to avoid making the situation worse.
So who is PJM?
They are what I like to call the air traffic controller of the electric grid.
Matt Schilling is PUCO's spokesperson.
Just like an air traffic controller tells planes when and where to take off, they help flow the direction of electricity in real time.
Power companies serving different areas draw electricity from PJM's grid and distribute it to customers. AEP Ohio is one of those companies. And this week, there was a traffic jam, so to speak. The day after Monday's storms, multiple additional transmission lines in the AEP service area tripped out of service. This caused surrounding lines to overload beyond safe levels, said a PJM spokesperson in an email. To prevent damage to equipment and the risk of cascading outages across a broader area, PJM directed AEP to lower flows across the overloaded lines by reducing electricity load. An AEP Ohio spokesperson says the company backs PJM's decision, adding, quote, "The factor that determined which communities were impacted by the forced emergency outages this week was whether their local substation was served by an overloading transmission line. This was not a subjective decision made by anyone, but was determined by grid conditions caused by the storm and the hot weather."
PUCO is conducting its after-action report to determine exactly what led to this week's outage so the utilities can prevent those problems from happening in the future. Local for you, Jamie Ostroff, NBC4.
New tonight at 7, AEP says it will provide a $1 million contribution in an effort to help those affected by this week's power outages. That contribution will be handled by the AEP Ohio Fund of the Columbus Foundation. It comes after numerous customer complaints about not being able to file reimbursement claims for food that's spoiled during the outages. The company is also partnering with local organizations, including the Columbus Urban League, Impact Community Action, Life Care Alliance, and the Mid-Ohio Food Collective.